fabulous fans and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, this is so exciting, I gotta tell you, because I'm hanging out with my friend, Yuriria Robles. And if you've been watching me at all lately, you know I cannot stop talking about this incredible book that Yuriria and I have worked on together called Mayan Astrology. And it is coming out. The English language version comes out November 11th, 2021. The Spanish language version comes out December 9th, 2021. And Yuriria really is one of the most brilliant people I know. She's been my friend for so many years. And she is actually one of the few people who I consider like my astrologer, who knows my chart, because she is somebody that I go to when I want that other perspective. She's just that great an astrologer. And now she gets to share her brilliance with this whole new understanding of the sky, bringing this indigenous wisdom of Mayan astrology to the masses, to you guys. And for me to be a part of that has been such a privilege. So yes, let's celebrate together my friend Yuriria Robles and this upcoming book. Welcome, Yuriria. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, dearest. It's an honor and a pleasure for me. You know, I appreciate first of all, your friendship and also your generosity for working with me and giving this knowledge to the people and to the world. I think you will find it amazing as we did and enjoy it a different point of view as well. So thank you for the invitation, dear.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is a whole other perspective. I should mention to people that if they pre-order the book before launch or order it directly through Synchronicity Publications, they get a chance to get two gifts, $70 worth of gifts for just $6.99 for the ebook on Amazon. Or again, in future, if you're watching this in a future world, then you may be able to get it through synchronicitypublications.com. And the classes are one that has already been recorded, one that is going to be taught in November 2021 on compatibility. So we're going to talk about that as well, these incredible classes that come with the book. But yeah, it is really incredible to be part of sharing such a very special wisdom, so near and dear to my heart. Those who've watched me for a while know that I have called Mexico home for almost 9 years now. And I've known you for almost that long, I know. And it's just been so wonderful because Mayan is an indigenous group rooted in Mexico and into further south of Mexico as well. And their wisdom, their perspective on the sky is so unique and so reflective of how the indigenous wisdom of the Americas understood our connection to the sky. And so I know that, as we explain in the book, the Mayans associated different constellations with specific animals in that environment, in their environment. And so can you talk a little bit about that connection, like how it is that the Mayans saw the animals around them as deeply connected to the sky?
Yeah, we write in the book that there's a legend, a saying in the ancient books of the Maya, that the gods hung the animals by their mouth to the sky. So the Maya will learn everything the animals have to share with them. So if we understand this from the different drawings and sculptures and paintings and ceramics, we can see that the Maya integrated the knowledge of the sky. It was an aim for them. It was a meaning of life to integrate the cycles of the heavens with the cycles of the earth. So the compatibility of how you well integrate the animals or the signs that were indicated for you meant how much you would grow as a human, as a complete Maya. They would understand themselves. So the compatibility we have to take into account, first of all, that the Maya are a multiplying society. We are not. We are a dividing society. For us, the halves, the decimals up to infinity are very important because we understand that the more the decimals, the more the approximation. And the Mayans not. They didn't divide nor the day, nor the state, nothing. They multiply. So think on terms of adding up days, years, eras, numbers, up to millions of years. They would understand the sky multiplying cycles. And so in the astrology, it's like that. You would be born in a special sign, but then you had to add up all the rest of the animals and integrate. If I were a rabbit, for example, in the sense that I have the legend, as we already explained, is your gift is to have big ears and react immediately. But then I have to, if the jaguar is next, very near to me, not next, but near to me, then I would have to integrate how to use claws. Claws. I will have to understand what it is to be a predator. What is the gift of either the jaguar or either the hawk or either the sting of the scorpion for the little rabbit. But I couldn't divide it. I'm like that, you are different. The Maya would not think like that. They would add up all the knowledge. So we will learn in our class in next November the principle that I will explain them, but in the book they are much more easier to understand. That they will see the hand as a complete build of a character, with the main sign being in the middle, the two previous ones, and the two following ones. So they will have, even if they have different traits as animals, they would have to integrate them. And I'll show you where I find this idea from the ceramics idea. So for example, they would add, the serpent would have to add the loyalty of the dog, which is previous to her, and also the innocence of the rabbit, or even more so, the capacity to multiply knowledge or actions or productions or whatever. So the serpent born around May, especially from the 4th of May, 28 days later, they will have to integrate, of course, the meaning of the serpent, but also the meanings of the previous two, which are the dog and the jaguar, and the following ones, which are the rabbit and the turtle. So it's a very different way of understanding what it means to be myself with these whole 5 traits, just at the beginning.
And so from what I understood, basically, when we look at Western astrology and Western culture, it's rooted in sort of compartmentalizing, sectioning things out. But when you look at a Mayan understanding of the sky, it's like you can't understand yourself unless you understand your relationship to others, that the sky is considered a whole, that we are part of a whole world, a whole universe, rather than just one part of it, one segment of it. And so if you are, as you use the example of a rabbit, to know yourself as a rabbit means that you also know yourself in relation to the other animals, the animals around you, the animals across from you in the sky. You don't exist as a rabbit as an isolated being. You exist as part of a larger ecology. And I think that's so fascinating, because when you think about, like, I know in the book we focus on sun signs and we focus on the compatibility. So a lot of the things that you hear Yuriria talk about are in the books. They're in the classes that she teaches on Mayan astrology. But it's so interesting that as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about how when we look at and just understand what it is to be a Gemini, for example, this is what it means. These are your sign traits. Well, yes, you as a rabbit have your sign traits as well, but those sign traits are also rooted in the fact that you come after certain signs. You've got other signs coming after you. So I think that's really fascinating as part of it's a whole other worldview and an astrology that arises from this whole other worldview.
Absolutely, because they would think themselves as part of a team. They're very survival dependent on everybody else. So it's not divisive, it's multiplying. So we have to understand being a rabbit and being also the signs next to me. And also, what do I do with the rest of the animals? So it's a principle of integration also, and also it's a principle of in the when they are opposing animals, that you will find that it's not either them or me. It has to, there's a principle of respect. I understand that from the opposition, because there is a very beautiful legend that we explain in the book that tells the story about the tiger and the deer. The tiger was making, this is a Mayan legend. I'm not making it up. It's Mayan
Now,
legend.
by tiger, you mean jaguar?
Jaguar, yeah, sorry.
Yes, okay.
The jaguar was making a house for himself, and he was clearing up the woods or the land and adding and arranging the branches and everything. And just across him, next to him, but from the other side, the deer decided to make a home. So the deer was also clearing the woods and arranging the branches. So in time, they bump into each other from different points of view. And in the zodiac, the deer is in one side and opposing to it is the jaguar. So it's a legend about this relation. So of course, they were afraid of each other. Well, actually, the deer much more from the jaguar. But then he couldn't sleep. He said, well, this is my house. And then the jaguar said, this is my house too. So they agreed to share it. But the deer couldn't blink an eye, or he couldn't, this one is going, my neighbor is going to eat me. So he devised a plan to go to the river and ask the alligator to give him a jaguar corpse from Zower. So he pulled the jaguar corpse and other corpse to the tent or the house, and as said to his friend, let's share my dinner. And when the jaguar saw a fellow jaguar that the deer had caught, he was scared. He's scared of everything, of course, of the deer. So he decided, he was very polite, since they were neighbors and they shared houses, that he would agree. But as soon as they went, had dinner and said good night, both of them ran very far away from their homes, because they couldn't bear of being scared from each other, that they could share the same place. So what this tell me about the astrology is that they understood the power of both of them. Of course, the deer doesn't have claws, but he has intelligence, and he can override the power of the jaguar. And the jaguar understood, he didn't have the intelligence to see that it was a trick, but he was really respectful of the intelligence of his neighbor or fellow, how do you say, roomie, of his roomie. So they decided to part ways. In that sense, the opposition for us in astrology language is a parting of ways, but not in the sense that either you or me are prevalence or are more important, but they are really a relationship of respect.
So this is the type of story that demonstrates the relationship between the different signs and can tell us a lot about compatibility and getting along with people of different signs as well. But it is actually going to be around compatibility that the second class you're teaching with Mayan astrology, you're going to focus on that and talk about these different mythologies related to the different animals and how they interact with each other. And so that class is available at Synchronicity University, synchronicitypublications.com. And it is one of the gifts that you get if you pre-order your copy of Mayan Astrology on Amazon, and that link is in the description below. But yeah, so these are exactly the types of stories that illustrate how it is that the Mayans understood the sky and therefore our relationship to each other. Would you say that it's, I mean, I think about how that it's a very powerful symbolism as opposed to like Western astrology, which is what both you and I practice as well. With Western astrology, the signs are rooted on mythological characters for the most part. And it's a very different thing to understand the sky as reflecting characters of myth and divinities, as opposed to the sky reflecting the animals in your environment here on Earth. And we see this with a lot of the indigenous cultures of the Americas, that they were able to understand the animals as sacred, their environment as sacred. Like there's this very direct correlation between the sky and the animals. It's fascinating.
It is. It is. There are these 13 animals are very clear in the tables in the Paris Codex, but there are also some other animals that are not in the zodiac, but they represent or are very depicted with the sun, the moon, and the planets, and also a very special place for the Milky Way. But it's very interesting to see how they very keen observers of nature, and their own survival depended on that. So they made sacred these traits, these character traits, so they could integrate to nature. So in that sense, it's not that, yes, the animals are in the sky to teach us, but it is the fate or the work of a human to learn from the animals. It is as if they are superior. They constitute models, role models to aspire and to fulfill in a lifetime. And I think, as you mentioned in the Americas, and I think it's very important that this to acknowledge that this zodiac expanded through all Mesoamerica, except that it's fragmented, the understanding, because mainly we don't regard animals as important. So we look for manifestations of gods or superhumans with features all over to these are the gods. And so then we relegate, or as academia, I mean, or historian or archaeologists, the animals, yeah, they depicted a lot of animals, but what's the use? They are just animals. But it's the other way around. Like you mentioned, for the ancients, the animals were essential. And also there's two concepts, very important. One is called in Maya, the Y. Y is W-A-Y. And that's it's even translated in the glyph. And that's the alter ego. And the alter ego is always an animal. We prefer a jaguar because we are occidentals. But there you could be an armadillo or an iguana or an alligator or a rabbit, and it could be it is as important because they have its own niche in the ecosystem in our language, or in their own niche in their cosmological understanding. That's the first concept. And all in the Aztecs, around even post-classic and later, there's the Nahual. And the Nahual is also an animal alter ego. And the animal alter ego, as astrologers, we have no problem in understanding it's a sun sign. It's a sign, yeah? A sun sign or a moon sign, whatever, constellation. So we don't have to invent any more words. We understand what they mean with Y or Nahual. It's easy.
It's interesting because, just like you said, it's such a different relationship when you think of yourself as part of your environment, when you look at your environment as sacred, as opposed to you being the center of the universe and the center of the world. It really does change how you relate to everyone else, how you understand your place in the world. And the astrology of the Maya reflect that.
Yeah, they did. Um, and also, it's also important to know that it was a knowledge built from thousands of years. It is coming from the north, from Alaska downwards. You must know that there are a lot of indigenous people in Canada, a lot of indigenous people in what is the United States, and also in the north parts of Mexico. So they were coming down, and they were leaving behind traces and art and engravings in the stone and markings that have to do with their situation in the space and time. So by the time they arrive to the Maya, they have to go through Teotihuacan, which is the largest pyramid in Mexico City. It was the great metropolis from Mesoamerica. And we find signs. The owl is depicted, the turkey is depicted, of course the serpent is depicted, and the iguana is depicted already in Teotihuacan. So by the time they move all the way south to Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, which is even Central America, they have this understanding and this built-in knowledge from generations of what it means to be in their surroundings. Not they couldn't conceive, I think, the domination part of the system. They have to get into it, not dominate it.
Yeah, they think of themselves as part of the world and their environment instead of the environment being something to dominate, to have to rule. And I think that might be part of why when this other culture did show up, the conquistadors did show up, it was as if it was an interaction with a whole other world view. It really was as if two worlds had to connect, like two other planets in a way. Even though it was Earth, it was so fragmented before. And then in an instant, it's like these people show up who just see the world in such a remarkably different way that the other just didn't know before. I was remembering while you were speaking, I think it was 2010, we had the Olympics in Vancouver, Canada. And as part of the opening ceremony, they had this part of the opening ceremony where they showed the sky and they showed these different animals, and the animals were, of course, indigenous, connected to the northern part of North America, that is reflected as part of the indigenous wisdom of this land. Even though Canada is huge and the indigenous cultures were very diverse, it was so interesting to see like the polar bear and what that represented, and the different animals there, the otter and what that represented. I got so emotional watching this opening ceremony. It was so beautiful to me as an astrologer, of course, as a Canadian as well, but as an astrologer, it was so beautiful to see that, wherever human beings have been, there has been an astrology that reflects those people of that time, of that space, of that culture.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It's amazing to see. And also our trade, astrology, makes us understand that in the sense that we include everything. We cannot exclude anything. We, as an astrologers, we can see that we have a sun sign maybe, or the ascendant. But as real astrologers, we understand that we are everything. The sun is there, the moon is there, the Venus, and the rest of the planets, and we keep on including. We don't take out. Now this is not working. No, we don't take out anything. We include everything. The new planets, the galaxies, the stars very far away. Everything is part of ourselves. So in that sense, we should understand, we do understand a different point of view from the ancient people. In that sense, I agree, we are ancient.
I know, aren't we? We are ancient. And I love being an astrologer in this time and space where we get to like give our respect and our love to the ancients and to the ancient wisdom, but we're presenting it for modern times. We're presenting it for the world now. And I think about how now astrology, because now human beings have more agency than ever over their lives, and self-awareness is such an important part of a journey through life. The astrology reflects that and represents that. And we see that in Mayan astrology as well, where it is not so much predictive as it is an opportunity to see yourself differently, to understand your own Mayan sign, which is your Mayan totem animal, in a whole new light, in a whole new way. And it can be a very powerful way of knowing yourself in new ways.
I think so. I think so, because we can see, we can understand the traits that are not very congruent with each other. That what do I do if I feel very innocent, but then I have claws? What do I do? Either I have claws, or I am innocent, in the sense, or I'm a rabbit, or I am a jaguar. And the Mayan said, you have both. You have to integrate both in your life and know when to act from one side or the other. And both have gifts, and both have challenges to be understood and utilized in a coherent and organized way. So the book is quite friendly in that sense. Thank you, dear.
Yes.
Yeah, it's friendly in that sense. It's not going around the cosmological or argumentative reasons of why. We will write the next ones, the following ones. We will discuss the different points of view. And also, the character of the animals depend on the position of both the sun and the moon. But we decided for now, since it's much easier, like always, the sun sign. But next, in the following work we do, we will add up, as the Mayan did, a lot more information. But what I was going to say, in the sense that the signs are there in the book to help us integrate in an easy way. The first principle that we recognize in the Mayan books. And also when you were saying about the encounter of both worlds, the middle, the language that is between both worlds, our modern world and the ancient, is precisely astrology. So our astrology will make is the bridge between both worlds, and they accommodate a lot. So let's honor the tradition in the sense of giving them a chance to speak by themselves, by the way they saw their surroundings.
That's so beautiful. Well, Yuriria, I did love working on this book with you so very much. And I know that very soon the English language version is going to belong to the world. And soon after that, the Spanish language version will belong to the universe and belong to the world. But for now, gosh, this has been such a joy working on this in so many ways. On the one hand, to give love to Mayan wisdom, Mayan culture, and to share something with that, with people that maybe aren't as familiar with it, to help them to understand this very powerful form of indigenous wisdom, Mayan astrology. But then the other layer is, of course, working with someone like you, who's so brilliant, who's so loving, and it's just been such a wonderful journey. And look, here we are after all this time, all this work. And I know I've shared with you before as well, Synchronicity Publications, my publication company, I always had this vision of sharing some of the most brilliant people in the world with the world, right? I always had this vision that I would have other astrologers as part of my label. And it begins with you, like outside of my books, it begins with you. And that's so exciting to me. So just thank you. Thank you for being a part of all the wisdom you bring to my life. But now this growth that Synchronicity Publications is experiencing, like, I mean, you give so much love and say that you're grateful. I am so grateful. On so many levels, I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I'm so very grateful. You know, I love you a lot, and most of all, I respect your work a lot. So I am very honored and also proud, why not, of working with you in that sense. So please, thank you.
Of course, I feel the same way. Thank you, Yuriria. And once again, everybody, remember, you can get Mayan astrology now. If you're watching this after November 11th, wherever books are sold, if you're watching just before November 11th, 2021, well, you can actually pre-order on Amazon for just $6.99. And with it, you get free gifts. You get $70 worth of gifts, which is 2 classes from Yuriria. And you can learn a lot more about that at synchronicitypublications.com. Again, Yuriria, thank you. I love you.
I love you too, dearest. Come back home.
Yes, I'll be in Mexico very, very soon for the launch of the book, right? So I will be there very soon, and I'm looking forward to being back with my hermana mexicana. That's you, because I love you. And thank you, everybody out there, for watching. I love you guys so much as well. Thank you. Thank you for being here as part of my growth and my journey, and celebrating this incredible book with Yuriria and I. So grateful for each and every one of you. And thank you again for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Bye.
Bye.